What I'd like you to do is just really quickly, is just sort of nod to the person on your right, and then nod to the person on your left. Now, chances are that over the last winter, if you had been a beehive, either you or one of the two people you just nodded at would have died. Now, that's an awful lot of bees. And this is the second year in a row we have lost over 30% of the colonies, or we estimate we've lost 30% of the colonies over the winter. Now that's a lot of bees, and that's really important. And most of those losses are because of things we know. We know that there are these varroa mites that have introduced and caused a lot of losses. And we also have this new phenomenon, which I talked about last year, colony collapse disorder. And here we see a picture on top of a hill in Central Valley last December. And below you can see all these outyards, or temporary yards, where the colonies are brought in until February, and then they're shipped out to the almonds. And one documentary writer who was here and looked at this 2 months after I was here described this not as beehives but as a graveyard with these empty white boxes with no bees left in them. Now, I'm going to sum up a year's worth of work in 2 sentences to say that we have been trying to figure out what the cause of this is. And what we know is that it's as if the bees have caught a flu. And this flu has wiped through the population of bees. In some cases, and in fact in most cases in 1 year, this flu was caused by a new virus to us, or newly identified by us, called Israeli acute paralysis virus. It was called that because a guy in Israel first found it, and he now regrets profoundly calling it that disease, because of course there's the implication, but we think this virus is pretty ubiquitous. It's also pretty clear that the bees sometimes catch other viruses or other flus. And so the question we're still struggling with, and the question that keeps us up at night, is why have the bees suddenly become so susceptible to this flu? And why are they so susceptible to these other diseases? And we don't have the answer to that yet. And we spend a lot of time trying to figure that out. We think perhaps it's a combination of factors. We know from the work of a very large and dynamic working team that we're finding a lot of different pesticides in the hive, and surprisingly sometimes the healthiest hives have the most pesticides. And so we've discovered all these very strange things that we can't begin to understand. And so this opens up the whole idea of looking at colony health. Now, of course, if you lose a lot of colonies, beekeepers can replace them very quickly, and that's why we've been able to recover from a lot of loss. If we lost 1 in every 3 cows in the winter, the National Guard would be out. But what beekeepers can do is if they have 1 surviving colony, they can split that colony in 2, and then the 1 half that doesn't have a queen, they can buy a queen. It comes in the mail. It can come from Australia or Hawaii or Florida, and you can introduce that queen. And in fact, America was the first country that ever did mail delivery queens, and in fact it's part of the postal code that you have to deliver queens by mail in order to make sure that we have enough bees in this country. If you don't just want a queen, you can buy actually a 3-pound package of bees, which comes in the mail, and of course the postal office is always very concerned when they get your 3-pound packages of bees, and you can install this in your hive and replace that dead out. So it means that beekeepers are very good at replacing dead outs, and so they've been able to cover those losses. So even though we've lost 30% of the colonies every year, the same number of colonies have existed in the country, at about 2.4 million colonies. Now, those losses are tragic on many fronts, and one of those fronts is for the beekeeper. And it's really important to talk about beekeepers first, because beekeepers are among the most fascinating people you'll ever meet. If this was a group of beekeepers, you would have everyone from the card-carrying NRA member, who's, live free or die, to the self-expressed, quirky San Francisco backyard pig farmer. And you get all of these people in the same room, and they're all engaged and they're getting along, and they're all there because of the passion for bees.